Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman's mastery of method acting redefined realism in cinema, yet his obsessive pursuit of authenticity often crossed ethical lines. During the filming of Kramer vs. Kramer in 1979, Hoffman famously slapped Meryl Streep without warning in a rehearsal, leaving a visible mark. He also smashed a wine glass near her face, with shards landing in her hair, and taunted her about the recent death of her partner, Joan Crawford, to provoke emotion. These actions, intended to heighten realism, instead revealed a disturbing disregard for boundaries. Hoffman's intensity was again on display in Death of a Salesman during 1985, where crew members accused him of habitual harassment. A teenage production intern alleged he groped and humiliated her, while co-star Katherine Heigl recalled nightly incidents of unwanted touching backstage. Hoffman's pattern of using psychological and physical intimidation blurred the line between artistry and abuse, transforming method acting from a creative discipline into a tool of control that damaged both his colleagues and his legacy. Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe's career has long been marked by brilliance, matched with volatility, his temper often overshadowing his talent. During the filming of Gladiator in 2000, he reportedly berated crew members and called producer Branko Lustig in the middle of the night, threatening, "I will kill you with my bare hands," over a pay dispute involving his assistants. Crowe's disdain for authority extended to his director, dismissing now iconic dialogue as garbage before reluctantly performing it. Off-screen, his infamous Mercer Hotel outburst in New York City cemented his reputation for aggression. In June of 2005, unable to connect a phone call to his wife, he hurled a telephone at concierge Nestor Estrada's face, earning an arrest and a $100,000 civil settlement. Crowe later expressed deep regret, describing that time as the bottom of a well. Though he has since mellowed with age and reflected publicly on his behavior, the Gladiator star remains a cautionary symbol of how unchecked anger can both define and derail greatness. Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin's career combines award-winning performances with a long history of confrontations and volatility, both on and off set. During his celebrated run on 30 Rock, Baldwin's aggressive temperament reportedly made directors and crew uneasy. Director Adam Bernstein left the show after Baldwin threatened to assault him for using his hands to frame a shot. Later, during the Broadway play Orphans in 2013, he clashed violently with co-star Shia LaBeouf, leading producers to fire LaBeouf and side with Baldwin. Yet Baldwin's temper extended far beyond creative disputes. He became notorious for public altercations with paparazzi and for outbursts caught on audio and video, fueling a reputation as unpredictable and combative. This pattern reached a tragic climax during the Rust shooting in 2021, when a revolver he handled discharged a live round, killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins. As both star and producer, Baldwin's repeated deflections of responsibility intensified scrutiny, transforming him into a symbol of how unchecked dominance and disregard for safety can lead to devastating consequences. Christian Bale. Christian Bale's reputation as a dedicated perfectionist is inseparable from his explosive temper, the most infamous example being his on-set tirade during Terminator Salvation in 2008. When the film's cinematographer crossed Bale's eyeline during an intense scene, Bale erupted into a 3-minute verbal assault laced with profanity and threats to destroy equipment. The recording leaked months later, turning the outburst into a viral cultural moment that overshadowed the movie itself. Bale later apologized, explaining that his total immersion in the role of John Connor and frustration with repeated interruptions pushed him beyond control. Yet this was not an isolated episode. Crew members from other productions described similar tension caused by Bale's obsessive focus and demand for silence. Despite these controversies, his ability to transform physically and emotionally for roles, from emaciation in The Machinist to explosive charisma in American Psycho, has earned him critical reverence. Bale's volatility thus mirrors his performances, captivating, intense, and dangerously close to unraveling the professionalism around him. Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal's rise from martial arts choreographer to action star in the late 1980s was matched only by his rapid reputation for arrogance, aggression, and misconduct. On nearly every set, stories emerged of Seagal belittling co-stars, ignoring direction, and physically endangering stunt performers. During Out for Justice in 1991, he allegedly knocked out an extra who questioned his fighting technique. Comedian and actor John Leguizamo recounted being slammed against a wall by Seagal during executive decision rehearsals after laughing at his self-proclaimed authority. Seagal's behavior extended to documented claims of sexual harassment from multiple actresses and assistants who described a pattern of coercion during casting sessions. Even crew members noted his tendency to improvise violent stunts that risked injury for authenticity. Once considered an expert martial artist with real law enforcement ties, his credibility waned as his ego inflated. By the 2000s, Seagal's name became synonymous with hostility and excess, a warning that skill without humility corrodes both craft and reputation. Sean Penn. Sean Penn's reputation for raw emotional depth on screen is rivaled only by his volatility off it. His temper has long been part of his mythos. During the 1980s, Penn's marriage to Madonna was marked by explosive fights, including a 1988 incident in which he allegedly tied her to a chair and assaulted her, though charges were later dropped. His combative streak extended to journalists and photographers. He famously attacked a paparazzo in 1986, and again in 1999, the latter earning him 33 days in jail. On film sets, Penn's intensity often morphed into open hostility. While shooting Shanghai Surprise, his arguments with crew members became so disruptive that production nearly shut down. Yet this same volatility fuels his artistry. Performances in Mystic River and Milk display the same combustible energy that defines his private persona. Penn embodies Hollywood's enduring paradox, the belief that artistic brilliance can excuse brutality, even as it leaves deep scars on those around him. Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway's legacy is divided between her brilliance and her infamy, a once revered actress whose perfectionism frequently erupted into open hostility. Her clashes with directors began on Chinatown in 1974, where Roman Polanski's authoritarian style met Dunaway's relentless precision. During one heated exchange, when Polanski refused her a bathroom break, she reportedly urinated into a cup and threw it at him, a story that defined her image for decades. Her obsession with control followed her into Mommy Dearest in 1981, where her ferocious portrayal of Joan Crawford blurred into her off-screen reputation. Co-star Rutanya Alda later revealed Dunaway slapped her during a scene, leaving the set shaken. In later years, productions like Tea at 5 collapsed after reports of her berating crew and throwing objects. Only recently did Dunaway reveal a late-life bipolar disorder diagnosis, reframing years of chaos as a mix of mental illness, industry misogyny, and impossible standards demanded of powerful women in Hollywood. Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts' megawatt smile and early charm masked a behind-the-scenes reputation for being guarded, moody, and combative, particularly in the 1990s, when she became Hollywood's highest-paid actress. During the production of I Love Trouble in 1994, her feud with co-star Nick Nolte was so intense that the two filmed most scenes separately using stand-ins. Roberts called Nolte disgusting in interviews. He retaliated by labeling her not a nice person. 2 years earlier, on Steven Spielberg's Hook, crew members nicknamed her Tinker Hell for frequent lateness, erratic moods, and tension with Spielberg, who later admitted he wouldn't work with her again. Yet her intensity also produced commanding performances. In Erin Brockovich, she brought emotional authenticity that earned her an Academy Award. Over time, Roberts' reputation mellowed, and she has since spoken about the pressures of fame at a young age. Still, her early career illustrates how Hollywood punishes and sensationalizes women who demand control in male-dominated productions. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis built his fame on effortless cool, but behind his charm was a reputation for being uncooperative, dismissive, and combative on set. During the height of moonlighting in the mid-1980s, his clashes with co-star Sybil Shepherd became so disruptive that production schedules had to be restructured to keep them apart. As his stardom grew through Die Hard and its sequels, reports surfaced of Willis belittling directors and refusing multiple takes he deemed unnecessary. Filmmakers like Kevin Smith, who directed him in Cop Out in 2010, called the experience soul-crushing, describing Willis as disengaged and hostile. In later years, crew members noticed growing confusion and irritability, symptoms later linked to his frontotemporal dementia diagnosis. What once appeared as arrogance now reads as cognitive decline, reframing much of his late career behavior with empathy. Willis's story is one of transformation, from wisecracking hero to cautionary figure about the unseen toll of fame, aging, and the industry's relentless demands on its legends. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford embodied both Hollywood glamour and professional terror, a performer revered for her discipline yet feared for her cruelty. Rising from silent films to become a star of the Golden Age, Crawford demanded absolute control over every frame she appeared in. On Mildred Pierce in 1945, she reportedly bullied crew members and dictated lighting setups to hide wrinkles, insisting on precision that left cinematographers exhausted. Her rivalry with Bette Davis on Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962 became legendary. Crawford filled her costume with weights so Davis would struggle while dragging her across the floor, and she faked illness to avoid filming scenes she disliked. Even off-screen, Crawford ruled her household with the same severity. Her adopted children later described a life of strict rules and emotional abuse. Though she earned an Academy Award, her icy professionalism created lasting resentment, a cautionary tale of ambition that curdled into tyranny behind the camera. Bette Davis. Bette Davis's talent was as commanding as her temper. She redefined female stardom by refusing to be subordinate to any director or co-star. Known for her sharp wit and sharper tongue, Davis often clashed with studio executives during the 1930s and 1940s, demanding better scripts and creative control at a time when women rarely did. Her feud with Joan Crawford became one of Hollywood's most enduring rivalries. On the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Davis allegedly struck Crawford for real during a violent scene, which fueled Crawford's aforementioned retaliation by placing weights in her pockets to injure Davis's back during the dragging sequence. Davis later dismissed Crawford as a phony who slept her way to the top, remarks that kept tabloids busy for years. Despite her confrontational nature, Davis's intensity gave performances like All About Eve and Jezebel a fearless realism. She remains both pioneer and provocateur, an artist whose defiance reshaped Hollywood but alienated nearly everyone around her. William Shatner. William Shatner's commanding presence made him an icon of science fiction, but his relentless ego made him notorious among co-stars. On the original Star Trek series from 1966 to 1969, cast members complained that Shatner monopolized camera time, rewrote dialogue to boost his lines, and interrupted takes to reposition lighting in his favor. Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock, described their relationship as brotherly rivalry turned bitter. Shatner's dismissive attitude alienated much of the crew. George Takei and James Doohan later refused to attend some conventions where he appeared, citing decades of unresolved tension. Offset, Shatner's self-promotion often overshadowed ensemble contributions. He publicly minimized his colleagues' roles in interviews, reinforcing his reputation for vanity. Yet his charisma and work ethic were undeniable, helping transform Star Trek into a lasting cultural phenomenon. Shatner's combination of talent and ego created both the legend of Captain Kirk and the fractured relationships that followed him through his entire career. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan's early promise as a gifted child star devolved into one of Hollywood's most public career meltdowns, her talent repeatedly undermined by unreliability and addiction. During the filming of Georgia Rule in 2006, producer James G. Robinson sent her a blistering letter accusing her of discourteous, irresponsible, and unprofessional behavior after chronic lateness and absences disrupted the schedule. Co-star Jane Fonda later confirmed she had to personally confront Lohan for delaying scenes. Her reputation worsened through legal troubles, failed rehabs, and erratic press appearances, making her uninsurable for major studios. By the time she filmed The Canyons in 2013, director Paul Schrader admitted she was emotionally unpredictable and nearly impossible to manage. Despite flashes of brilliance reminiscent of her Mean Girls era, Lohan's instability cost her roles and credibility. Her decline highlights Hollywood's pattern of exploiting young female stars without providing real support, transforming a prodigy into a tabloid spectacle and a cautionary emblem of squandered potential. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's career is a chronicle of excess, a once bankable leading man undone by ego, addiction, and volatility. At his peak, he was television's highest-paid actor for 2.5 Men, earning nearly $2 million per episode. Yet his substance abuse and erratic conduct made him unmanageable. Creator Chuck Lorre repeatedly halted production as Sheen's partying and absences derailed filming. By 2011, his public meltdown dominated headlines. He insulted producers, claimed to have tiger blood, and was ultimately fired from the series. Earlier in his career, Sheen's violent temper had already surfaced. He shot his fiancée Kelly Preston in the arm in 1990 by accident, and was later accused of assault by multiple partners. Despite numerous chances at redemption, including anger management, his instability persisted, leaving studios wary of hiring him. Once praised for natural charisma, Sheen became an emblem of self-destruction, proof that celebrity indulgence can swiftly dissolve both career and credibility. Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez's transition from pop icon to movie star came with a reputation for entitlement and exacting control that alienated coworkers and collaborators. Crew members from early projects like Selena and The Wedding Planner described her as demanding precise lighting setups, refusing to rehearse group scenes, and insisting on specific camera angles that favored her. Her behavior extended beyond film sets. Event staff and stylists recounted exhaustive all-white dressing room requirements and restrictions on eye contact. In interviews, Lopez often positioned herself as a self-made perfectionist, but her meticulousness blurred into inflexibility. On Shades of Blue, producers cited her habit of rewriting dialogue and overruling directors to maintain her image. While admired for professionalism and drive, peers privately complained that her need for control stifled collaboration. Still, Lopez's ability to deliver box office success and flawless performances kept her in power, demonstrating how fame can transform ambition into authority and cooperation into command. Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl's rise from television sweetheart to Hollywood pariah was swift, driven by public criticism of the very projects that made her famous. After winning an Emmy for Grey's Anatomy, she withdrew herself from consideration the following year, claiming the writing did not warrant a nomination, a remark that infuriated the show's writers. Soon after, she disparaged Knocked Up in interviews, calling it sexist and a little hypocritical, angering director Judd Apatow and co-star Seth Rogen. Her reputation for being difficult deepened when producers described her as ungrateful, frequently rewriting lines and questioning creative decisions on set. By the early 2010s, major studios had largely stopped hiring her, despite her proven box office appeal. Heigl later admitted her outspokenness was misunderstood, but by then, her image as Hollywood's most ungrateful actress had solidified. Her story underscores how quickly industry goodwill evaporates when confidence and candor collide with an unforgiving public narrative. Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase's sharp comedic instincts made him a founding legend of Saturday Night Live, but his arrogance and cruelty soon made him one of its most reviled alumni. Former castmates described him as openly insulting, often mocking performers' weight, intelligence, or appearance during rehearsals. His feud with Bill Murray became infamous after the two exchanged punches backstage minutes before Chase hosted SNL in 1978. On the sitcom Community, his decades-old behavior resurfaced. Co-star Donald Glover revealed Chase made racially insensitive remarks between takes, while creator Dan Harmon called him a comic genius and a nightmare human being. Crew members recounted him storming off set or refusing direction, forcing production delays. Despite undeniable talent, his chronic disdain for colleagues alienated nearly every ensemble he joined. Chase's trajectory from celebrated pioneer to persona non grata shows how brilliance without empathy corrodes collaboration, transforming laughter into tension wherever his name appears on a call sheet. John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo's inclusion among Hollywood's most difficult actors is unconventional. His conflicts stem not from arrogance or abuse, but from fiery outspokenness and clashes with co-stars who wielded more power. During the filming of Executive Decision in 1996, Steven Seagal reportedly slammed Leguizamo against a wall after he laughed at Seagal's self-proclaimed authority speech to the cast. The incident left Leguizamo both shaken and vocal about Seagal's hypocrisy. Known for his blunt honesty, he has publicly criticized industry racism, pay inequality, and the lack of Latino representation, candor that has earned both admiration and alienation. Directors describe him as passionate, yet argumentative, pushing for script rewrites to ensure authenticity in dialogue and characterization. Despite this, Leguizamo's professionalism on set remains intact. His reputation for outspokenness reflects integrity rather than ego. His story highlights the double standard within Hollywood. When protest challenges power, conviction itself becomes branded as difficult. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando revolutionized acting with emotional realism, yet his disregard for authority and chaotic behavior made him nearly impossible to manage. On Apocalypse Now, in 1979, he arrived overweight, unprepared, and unwilling to memorize lines, forcing director Francis Ford Coppola to shoot him in shadows while reading dialogue off cue cards. Years earlier, during Mutiny on the Bounty, Brando rewrote scenes, delayed production, and openly mocked crew members. His interference ballooned costs and nearly bankrupted the studio. He often treated collaborators as adversaries, once telling a director, "I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make truth." Despite sabotaging his own reputation, Brando's performances in A Streetcar Named Desire and The Godfather redefined cinematic acting. His unpredictability blurred genius and self-destruction, turning every set into a battleground between discipline and ego. Jared Leto. Jared Leto's reputation for extreme method acting has often crossed into calculated chaos. His portrayal of the Joker in Suicide Squad turned preparation into provocation. Claiming to stay in character at all times, Leto sent disturbing packages to co-stars, a live rat to Margot Robbie, bullets to Will Smith, and a dead pig to the cast during rehearsals. Viola Davis recalled nearly pepper-spraying him after one of his unsettling stunts. Instead of deepening his performance, these antics alienated colleagues and fostered a toxic environment. Critics later dismissed his Joker as shallow and disjointed, exposing the gap between publicity and artistry. Off-screen, Leto cultivated a cult-like following through his band 30 Seconds to Mars, where fans attended retreat-style gatherings that blurred spirituality and celebrity worship. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf's evolution from Disney star to art house provocateur has been shadowed by chaos, his talent perpetually at war with self-destruction. On the set of Lawless in 2012, LaBeouf reportedly mailed co-star Tom Hardy explicit footage of himself as a method experiment, later provoking an actual fistfight that left Hardy bruised. During Nymphomaniac, his obsession with authenticity pushed him to send explicit photos to director Lars von Trier and engage in unsimulated sex scenes, alienating both cast and crew. Arrests for public intoxication and violent outbursts followed, including a notorious incident at a Broadway performance of Cabaret, where he spat on officers during his removal. Co-stars described him as erratic but magnetic, capable of brilliance when stable, destructive when spiraling. LaBeouf later admitted to deep-seated trauma and addiction, entering treatment while facing assault allegations from former partner FKA Twigs. His story reflects genius entangled with instability, creativity constantly undermined by unchecked impulse. Bill Murray. Bill Murray's charming, improvisational persona has long masked a pattern of volatile and abusive behavior that stretches across decades. During the filming of What About Bob? In 1991, he allegedly threw an ashtray at co-star Richard Dreyfuss after a shouting match, leaving crew members stunned. Years later, Lucy Liu recounted how Murray insulted her on the set of Charlie's Angels, calling her untalented and belittling her in front of the cast until she confronted him directly. Geena Davis also accused Murray of harassing her during Quick Change in 1990, describing a terrifying incident where he screamed at her in public. Most recently, in 2022, production on Being Mortal shut down after he reportedly straddled and kissed a young staffer without consent. Despite a career built on lovable oddball charm, Murray's history reveals a consistent disregard for boundaries. A reminder that humor and hostility often share a thin, dangerous line when left unchecked by accountability. Edward Norton. Edward Norton's extraordinary intellect and commitment to his craft have made him both admired and infamous, a perfectionist whose pursuit of control often alienates collaborators. On American History X in 1998, Norton's extensive re-editing of the film without director Tony Kaye's approval led to a bitter public feud. Kaye accused him of hijacking the movie, while Norton claimed he was saving it from incoherence. His edits ultimately improved the final cut, but the studio viewed his interference as insubordination. Similar conflicts followed on The Incredible Hulk in 2008, where Norton rewrote large sections of the script and clashed with Marvel executives over tone and pacing, resulting in his exclusion from future sequels. Cast and crew often describe him as intelligent but exhausting, a collaborator who blurs the line between dedication and domination. Norton's talent remains unquestionable, yet his insistence on total authorship has earned him a reputation as one of Hollywood's most brilliant control freaks. Mike Meyers. Mike Meyers' comedic genius revolutionized pop culture through Wayne's World and Austin Powers, but his obsessive control and perfectionism made him a nightmare for collaborators. On Wayne's World 2, crew members described him as dictating every detail, down to camera angles and prop placement, causing production delays and walkouts. Director Penelope Spheris, who helmed the first Wayne's World, was excluded from the sequel after clashing with Meyers over creative control. During The Cat in the Hat in 2003, his mood swings and fixation on perfection reportedly made filming miserable for both crew and child actors. Co-stars said he remained distant off-camera, breaking character only to issue demands or criticize timing. Former colleagues at Saturday Night Live recalled his brilliance, but also his hostility toward improvisation, insisting others strictly follow his script. Meyers' meticulousness produced enduring comedy icons, yet it also cemented his image as a performer who values control over collaboration. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's reputation as a gifted but impossible perfectionist has haunted him since the 1980s, his intensity often transforming sets into battlegrounds. During The Island of Dr. Moreau in 1996, Kilmer's clashes with director Richard Stanley and co-star Marlon Brando became legendary. Crew members described constant delays caused by Kilmer's refusal to follow direction or arrive on time. At one point, he allegedly burned a cameraman's sideburn with a cigarette during an argument. On Batman Forever, he butted heads with director Joel Schumacher, who called him psychotic and refused to work with him again. Kilmer justified his behavior as commitment to craft, claiming he was misunderstood by insecure filmmakers. Despite his volatility, performances in The Doors and Tombstone revealed remarkable range and authenticity. In later years, health issues and personal reflection softened his image, but the legend of his volatility endures, a portrait of brilliance, undone by ego and unrelenting artistic stubbornness. If you like this analysis, you'll love where I go next. Click the video on your screen and find out.